Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our little bit longer show where we show you some of the coolest, biggest, best stuff that is releasing this week to your comic book store, or if you shop with us at infinityflux.net, it'll be there as well. You can go ahead and start placing your orders, whether you live near or far. We will get the comics to you, and that is super cool of us. We pat ourselves on the back.
That is our guarantee.
That is our guarantee. So, this is a big week of books. It's really exciting. I want to thank everybody real quick who came out or celebrated our 10th anniversary with us. That was super cool Saturday. It was crazy.
It was packed like all day. It rivaled Free Comic Book Day for amount of people and business and all that.
So
it's
everyone
awesome.
Who came in the store or online, you bought the chocolate bars. Maybe you won the golden ticket that was on the inside. Just such a fun time, and thank you everyone for supporting us for that.
Absolutely. And about the chocolate, we sold out in 6 hours.
Yeah.
That is crazy and awesome. So yeah, thank you very much. It's delicious. Even if you didn't get a golden ticket, you still won because it's delicious chocolate.
Exactly. But let's get into this week's worth of books because that's why we're here. That's why we've been around 10 years is doing stuff like this. So I'm going to kick us off with something very exciting for me personally. This is Star Wars The High Republic Adventures Wedding Special #1. This is a one-shot celebrating the wedding of Zine Marla and Lula Teles... I can never say their name. It's a Star Wars... Telesola. Yeah. So this is a one-shot that brings together many creators who have worked on the High Republic Adventures. It's written by Daniel Jose Older with a whole cavalcade of artists. I wish I could name them all, but I can't name one, which is me.
What?
Yeah, so...
You've gone mad with power. You're starting with your own book.
I know. You told me to.
I know.
But this was super fun to do. I did about 3 pages of this. I think pretty much every artist in here did just a handful of pages. But the pages that we worked on are kind of specific to either certain characters or certain storylines within this. As they're getting ready for this wedding, the Nile attacks and everything are still going on, and so they have to protect where the venue that the wedding's going to take place. And the part I drew is about Farzala and Quart, 2 of the Jedi who are kind of maintaining the perimeter of this venue. It was super fun. I got to draw my own Nile characters. They just made them up. I got to pick what species they were and everything, which was really cool. And I got to draw a member of the Jedi High Council that was super fun as well. I've never got to do that. At least not that I can remember, other than Yoda. I've drawn Young Jedi Adventures Yoda. But really cool. So just want to start off with this one. It's not going to be the easiest jumping on point if you haven't been reading the High Republic Adventures, but we wanted to point it out because I did work on it. Yeah. I'm very excited about this. I've got many more books coming in the near future, but we wanted to show this and say that we do have signed copies available over at infinityflux.net where you can order them and I will sign them. Them's are the rules.
If I can say unbiasedly, your part of the story was my favorite part.
Wow, that's awesome. And is that the only part of the story you read?
Of course not.
Okay. Well, anyways, it was really fun to do, and just thank you for everyone who supported me as I've been working on all these Star Wars books. I've got so much more. We've got the annual coming up, I believe, in January. We've got Free Comic Book Day, Young Jedi Adventures coming up in May.
The Free Comic Book Day book, that's a full Andy Dugan joint right there.
I did pretty much everything.
Yeah, except the colors on the inside. That's about it, right?
Yep. So, and I didn't write it.
You didn't write it.
Yeah, so thank you everyone who supported me, everyone who's gotten all my books as we've went along. That's been super awesome as well. So on the website, the signed copies are just for the A cover, but we do have some variants for this as well. We've got the really nice Sheilth Mono variant, and we have this one. This is the Bampo variant. So yes, a lot of fun, and I'm super proud that it's came out, and You work on these like 6 months ago or
Yeah.
more, and you put it out and you do the little corrections they need you to do, and then you kind of just sit and wait. And so it feels like an egg hatching. It's finally
Right.
hatched
Yeah.
into a full blown comic. So, yep, we just want to start off with that one.
Well, I'm going to start off with Absolute Batman #3. The Absolute Batman saga continues, and this issue continues right where the previous issue left off with a big motorcycle car chase down the middle of Gotham City with Batman and Alfred inside the giant dump truck Batmobile. And for those who say that's ridiculous and it's so slow and all that, that gets addressed in here.
Yep.
So we see the Batmobile do something very, very cool. During that chase, though, Alfred tries to convince Batman to take Black Mask's offer that he offered last issue to Batman of, hey, Batman, ease up on the crime fighting a little bit, and I will give you a ton of money. And Alfred says, hey, maybe you should do that for a couple reasons. I mean, that sounds awful of Alfred to suggest, right? But maybe for a couple reasons. One reason being, if you did get that much money, you would be able to build the Batman legend into something huge.
They
And
almost kind of hint towards like the Batman that you know. It's
yeah,
like,
right.
that's a Batman built off of billions of
Yeah,
dollars,
yeah.
everything.
But he also says for Black Mask to pay you that amount of money, he would have to make all these different financial transactions, and that would give Alfred's people enough information to get Black Mask.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a way to get money to help the Batman mythos go on, and also as a trap
Yeah.
for Black Mask to trap him down. So uh that whole thing's really cool, but then we also later on we get some more flashbacks of Bruce as a kid with his friends, including Selena Kyle, who popped up at the very end of the last issue. She's in it. Her young self is in it
Mhm.
quite a bit in this issue, and the friends get together and they try to um, cheer him up a little bit after the tragedy that happened with his father. We also get a couple more scenes of Bruce in present day, his older self with a couple of his friends, kind of like what we saw last issue, where he kind of goes to them like, "Hey, what would you say if this?" And sort of trying to get more information about the Black Mask going on, and they help him out a little bit. They unwittingly help him out,
Mhm.
with the Black Mask stuff. What's really cool about this is there's a really interesting meeting between Black Mask and the former Mayor Hill. And during that meeting, we meet this universe's version of a supporting character of another hero from the main DC
Mhm.
universe. I thought that was really cool to see that character. Not a big character, but
A surprising one,
yeah.
and filling a role that's
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
and a character who doesn't live in Gotham in the main universe. And
Yeah.
that's all I'll say about that. But it's just cool to see them. But one of the most interesting parts of this issue, and it's not a very big part, but it happens near the end, it's Bruce learning more about the Arc M project that he
Mhm.
found out about last issue. We still don't know a whole lot about it yet, but I do think that's going to lead into maybe an even bigger story
Mhm.
than all of this Black Mask party animal stuff. And I'm really excited for that. There's a few other things in here, but I'm not gonna spoil them for you. But just another really good issue of Absolute Batman. If you love the first two, you're gonna love this. I will say there's a little bit less action in this
Mhm.
than the other ones. A little bit less like ostentatiousness, I
Yeah.
guess. Not as many big crazy things after that first chase sequence.
Just a giant bat dump truck is all.
That's all you really need. But still very, very good. Still more world building, more building out of Gotham City, and putting all the characters in place, getting ready for a big story to tell. Next issue is actually kind of an interlude, if you will. I think it's a big flashback story. Bruce when he was a kid, and then issues 5 and 6 will be the last two parts of this first story arc called. Isn't it just called The Zoo?
I
I
think so.
believe. But yeah, just another great issue of Absolute Batman. So don't miss it if you have been buying it, because we will definitely sell out of this. So that's our A cover right there. We got a couple cool variants. This is the Becky Cloonan variant. And then we have our 1 in 25 Riley Rossmo variant. Oh, I didn't even recognize that because he's so like
Yeah.
savage. So yeah, 1 in 25 Riley Rossmo variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Kind of colors you don't see Riley Rossmo use
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
He doesn't usually go for really strong blacks.
right. And then there's a 1 in 50 Steven Subic variant that we're selling for $34.99. That's a big hulking Batman
Yeah.
right there.
It's just an interesting issue too because there's some names of like locations that are
Yeah.
brought up that are like recognizable but not yet in the absolute universe.
Right.
So it feels a lot like maybe the early days of Ultimate Spider-Man, where there's you realize a lot of the pieces are related. Of like, oh, Doc Ock and Oscorp is like the centralized thing that
Yeah.
ties a lot together. It has some of those feels
Right.
to it. I thought was really cool. Well, next up, one of my favorite books of the week. This is Challengers of the Unknown #1. So this is a new book by Christopher Cantwell and Sean Isaacs on art, who just finished up a fantastic run of Green Arrow. And this is super cool. I feel like I have to like sell this one because I would say a large portion of comic readers have never read an issue of Challengers of the Unknown, or maybe don't even know what they're all about. They are a kind of a classic Kirby era adventure team, very much in the ways of how like the Fantastic Four started. They just don't have
Yeah.
superpowers.
Yeah.
They're little Johnny Quest. They're there was the Sea Devils, which are like the water version of
Yeah.
them, and all of that. Well, in this, and if you've been reading Justice League, and if you've read The Question along the Watchtower #1, you've seen them pop up here and there, or Black Lightning they were in briefly. They are, or they were hired to be kind of the nerve center of the Justice League Watchtower. They kind of maintain things. They're the go-betweens of the different areas and the heroes, and they're the ones who work on stuff. Well, we learn kind of what their bigger job is in this one. In the DC All-In special, when we saw the quote-unquote death of Darkseid, I feel like, yes, he did die, but that raises more complications.
Right.
When that happened, apparently throughout the galaxy there are these ripples or these seismic events that happened, that it wasn't, they even mentioned it wasn't too bad on the Watchtower, but it varied in degrees throughout. And they're going to, because they fear that Darkseid is, for them, they don't know, is he really dead, did he take on another form, something like that. They tasked the Challengers, which, living up to their name, the Challengers of the Unknown, to go into these unknown areas and figure out what all this was. They're going to be teamed up with members of the Justice League to do that, which is really, really fun. So some of the places that were affected by this thing are Mars, which we get some Miss Martian in here, which I love, Megan. Dinosaur Island. I feel like when you read Aquaman #1, you're going to get an idea of what some of these things are entailed.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because
Holy cow.
they do mention something near Aquaman's lighthouse.
I forgot all about that, but now Aquaman #1 doesn't come out till January 8th, but we've already read it, and there's a shocking last page that actually
feels like
it. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that.
It's so interconnected.
Yeah.
We love saying this. It's so interconnected without feeling you have to read everything. It just, everything builds a bigger tapestry of this story. So what's great about this issue as well is, yes, they do go on these missions. It's all kind of put on by Mr. Terrific, who they feel, even the Justice League feel, that he's holding back on some information from them about what, does he know more about these sites than they do. But this mostly follows Ace Morgan, who is kind of the leader of the Challengers of the Unknown, and Superman going to Mars, which I don't want to give too much away, but they do find something there, and they might accidentally take it back with them in some form or fashion. But you get some, because I know roughly Challengers of the Unknown. I've read things with them in it here and there. I couldn't name all the members, but you do learn, I feel like this is going to spotlight some of the different members. You're going to learn more about them. And even there's a really cool part where Ace Morgan, the leader, could have maybe have been a different hero if circumstances happened, and maybe the Justice League agree that could have happened.
And now I want that Elseworlds book.
Yes,
that would be so cool.
You do see a glimpse of what that would have been.
Yeah,
like.
right.
But it's so cool. This does run alongside The Question, because it's brought up the attack that happened in the previous issue to one of their members. But they do a good job in this being like, hey, they're not allowed to touch that situation. They're kind of too close to it. All of that. It's cool to see like Superman and how much he respects the Challengers of the Unknown and their relationship. But if you enjoyed Justice League Unlimited #1, if you enjoyed Question All Along the Watchtower #1, if you're liking this like I said, this tapestry that DC's building about the story that started in the All In, which I feel like I don't know if I've ever seen a across the universe story being so accessible and so well structured.
Yeah. This is pretty remarkable what DC's been doing these last few months of just making everything feel connected. Like we've said before, it almost feels like an event with tie-ins. But it's not an
Yeah.
event. You definitely do not need to read all these books, but if you do, you are going to get this grand picture
Yep.
of everything. It's almost like having a top-down view of a house, and you take the roof off, and you can see everything that's going on in all these different rooms.
Yep.
That's what reading all these different books is like, and they do such a great job of connecting them all together, but also keeping them separate
Yeah.
enough. And I mean, it's amazing what they're doing
It
right
feels
now.
like a very living world.
Yeah.
Like we've said before, if you're walking down the Watchtower and you look over to your right, what are they doing in that room? You can go into that
Yeah.
room and that's this book over here. Or you could go in this room and that's that book over
Mhm.
there. Just really, really cool. And I definitely think this is, you know, people are going to be talking about it after the fact because I feel like it's a book that, you know, doesn't say Batman on it.
Right.
Isn't flashy, but the people who pick it up are gonna love it. Like I did.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I got done. I was like, that might be my favorite book of the week.
Yeah, you know, I'll say that, you know, everybody's loving the Absolute books right now, and we just talked about Absolute Batman. I liked this one even more than that. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved this book. It's so good. The mysteries that they're setting up and the artwork. Sean Isaacs is the artist. He did a lot of the current Green Arrow run
Uh-huh.
before it changed creative teams. So if you read like that first couple arcs of Green Arrow, that's the artist in here. So the artwork is fantastic. It's you know, Superman does figure into it some, but it's not like superheroics. It's more science adventures.
Yeah.
With Superman using his powers to do like sciencey stuff
Yeah.
instead of crime fighting stuff. Everything about it is cool. Like, it's so good, and I can't wait to see like what's going on.
Yeah,
You know?
and another piece of that dark side puzzle
Uh-huh.
that we're going to be talking about in multiple other books that you're getting little snippets of maybe what's going on.
Yeah. It's making me realize that there is when Darkseid died, that was a big deal, and it is causing repercussions in multiple books in multiple different ways. And we're going to talk about it again in a minute. There's another book that we have read that kind of deals with it a little bit too. I mean, it's fantastic.
It's cool that it does feel so well orchestrated
Yeah.
and rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
That every time you read a book, it feels like, oh man, I learned a little bit more.
It feels like every time you read one of these, you're adding another piece to a puzzle, and
Yeah.
eventually you're going to have this grand image, and you know you're building it a little bit at a time. It's really neat.
Yeah, it's crazy too that like the All In was not technically an event book
Yeah.
or whatever, but it is done an event better than most events do.
Yes,
events.
that's a great way to say it. Not an event, but this is how events should work.
Yeah. It should have those ramifications.
Yeah.
We got some great variants for this one. First off, we have this Danny Earls variant, which I'll say you don't see all the Justice League,
Right.
you know, participate in this. It's mostly Superman for this first issue, but it's, you know, it's really cool, the stuff that he does. I love this one. This is the Dan Mora Designs variant.
Mm-hmm.
You learn whose idea it was to make the suits purple,
Yep.
and it's real fun.
It's awesome.
So yeah, that's the Dan Moore design, so you can kind of see what they're going to look like. I love the white gloves and the white boots. It reminds me of the new Fantastic Four movie,
Yeah.
where it's a very like,
Yeah.
60s
Retro future. Yeah.
feel. We also have this really awesome, let's see who did this, this Gleb Milkanov foil variant. We have our all-in Samper. Is it still Samper doing these? I know
think
there's
so.
yeah, this is the Fico Ocio.
Oh, okay.
All in. So yeah, very mirror-like with another member of the Challengers. And we have this 1 in 25. This is the Sean Isaacs variant. So this is what your interior art looks like. That we're selling for $24.99.
And it's cool because there's 4 different anomalies specifically that Mr. Terrific wants them to go research, and he tells the team to go split up.
Mm-hmm.
And each member of the Challengers gets assigned to a member of the Justice League to help them. And I think that this series is going to be, this issue is Superman and Ace Morgan. There's going to be another issue, I think, with Batman and somebody else, and another issue with Aquaman and somebody else. So we're going to get, like, it's not just going to be like these couple characters. It's going to like take place across the galaxy. It's really cool.
You're up.
Yeah. You got it.
Oh, thanks.
Well, if Challengers of the Unknown is not my pick of the week, then what my pick of the week is the New Gods #1, because this is another DC All-In book that also focuses on the ramifications of Darkseid dying, but in a different way. So you're not getting the same story
From
twice.
a different angle.
From a different angle, right? So this is written by Rom V and the art is by Evan Cagle. I believe this is going to be a 12-issue series.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, this feels like they're about to tell a pretty big epic story here. So, like I said, this series deals with the death of Darkseid, but not what happened to the universe, but what or who is coming to fill the void that was left when Darkseid died. So, obviously, this deals with all the new gods. You got Metron, Orion, Lightrays in there a little bit, Highfather, all those guys. So, Metron comes to Highfather when he's in New Genesis to tell him that he has received information from the Source Wall that says that now that Darkseid is gone, the darkness across the galaxy that was held at bay because it was scared of Darkseid is now coming forth because Darkseid's not there anymore. All these creepy crawlies are coming out of the woodwork. On top of that, even worse, or maybe better, I don't know yet, a child will be born on Earth that will change everything that we know, but whether that change is going to be good or bad is unknown. We have no idea. Metron doesn't even know what this child is going to be.
It's a prophecy that was told to one of the new gods and kind of got passed around.
Yeah. So Highfather reaches out to Orion, who is busy battling parademons across the galaxy. Parademons who have kind of gotten stirred awake. Now that Darkseid is gone, now they're kind of coming out of the woodwork as well. And Orion's, been trying to take down all these parademons. Well, Highfather reaches out to Orion and tasks him with killing this child. I guess he doesn't want to take the chance that it's as bad or worse than Darkseid. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, let's kill the child now before it gets too powerful.
He's not known for his subtle decisions.
Right? Yeah. He's pretty like, no, we're gonna do this. Orion definitely does not want to do that, but Orion also has never disobeyed the Highfather before. So he kind of tries to come up with a way around it. So he goes to visit Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, on Earth, and asks him, hey, here's what's going on. I need you to find this kid, this child, and hide it to where I can't find it. Because if I do find it, I am going to kill it. And I say it because we don't know if it's a him or her, right? Or maybe we do. Couldn't quite tell. But Orion says, I will kill this child if I find him, so you better hide it, and then we both win, right? But Scott...
He knows that Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, can get out of anything. Yeah. It's like, so, you're slippery. Yeah. I won't be able to catch you. That's why...
He says, you're the only one I know who can escape me, basically, which is cool. But Scott and Barda have just had a baby of their own, and they're trying to, they're new parents, and for those of you who have had kids, you know how that's a demanding job, right? And Scott does not want to do this at all. And will he, won't he? I don't know. We'll have to see. But there's also a couple cool pages at the end where we actually do see the child, and it's very cool. It's not just a baby laying in a crib. There's a little bit more to it. It's very, very cool. But this book is awesome, and when I first read it, and not to take anything away from Rom V, because he is a big epic storyteller in his own right, so I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But when I read this, we read it for the first time like 4 or 6 weeks ago or something like that. When I first read it, I thought this feels like a Jonathan Hickman book.
Yeah.
This feels like I kept expecting to see all the
cosmic thing, how high concept, but not
But not to the point where you can't understand it.
Right,
like even I can understand this, and I'm not very great at that stuff. But I kept waiting to see all the symbols, that Hickman likes to put in there. So this feels like a big, grand space epic with ramifications that could rock the entire universe. It doesn't say that. I know I'm sounding like a copy from an event or something, but this does feel very grand in scope. And I don't know what's going to happen. And
what I love about this too is you're dealing with like god tier characters that are very majestic and all this, and then you have Mr. Miracle who's trying to raise a baby on Earth, and he's just schlubbing it. He's just trying to get through the day, and you've got that big thing, but I feel like it takes it back down to like digestible levels when you see the kind of stress he's going through. And if you read like Tom King's Mr. Miracle, I feel like this could go, this could be a little bit of sequel of what happened with him there. Which I thought was super fun.
Yeah, I guess when I said Scott and Barta just had a baby, I guess they didn't just have a baby, but it's a newborn in here, and they're still trying to deal with all that. But yeah, and I made some notes like, Superman, the Superman book is giving us just some big fun comic book action. with Superman versus Doomsday. We've got murder mysteries in Green Arrow and The Question. But then there's this, which feels like it's on a whole other level because, like you said, this feels like god tier
Yeah.
happenings across the universe. It's just really cool. The artwork is really, really cool. I love this. So it's either this or Challenges of the Unknown that I think is my pick of the week because they're both so amazing. And there's another one coming up in a minute that also is right there near the top too. But holy cow, good job, DC. So, and again, this feels like it's connected to the rest of the DC universe, but also kind of on its own. So if you are enjoying all this big epicness that the DC universe is doing, then this is another awesome piece to that puzzle we talked about.
I want to say there might be a first appearance of a character from in the very beginning that I
Yeah.
don't recognize. I don't know if they're going to play a big part in this, but they are like feel like almost another tier above
Yeah.
a god tier character.
And there's all I mean that we do see that child in this. So it's that first appearance to what how much of a role that child will play in the future, I don't know, but they are there. We've never seen them before and they're in this. All right, so we have our A cover right here, and we have this really cool Evan Cagle. Evan Cagle. So that's your interior artist right there. So that's what that looks like. And Orion is like big and swole, like he looks great. This is the Pete Woods variant with all of your new gods on it.
I think the source wall in the background.
Oh, that is a source wall. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, Light Ray is in it a little bit. I hope we see more of him. I really like seeing him in this. And then we have the 1 in 25 Carbon D Domenico variant that we're selling for $19.99. Yeah, this is. I mean, I was blown away with how good this was.
Yeah,
like I reread it. Yeah, we reread it. We reread it for the first time several weeks ago. I reread it over the weekend. I was like, holy cow! Yeah, that I forgot how awesome it was.
Well, another awesome book this week that from Marvel that I thought was really, really cool and very surprising in many ways is TVA #1, the Time Variance Authority, or if you live around here, the Tennessee Valley Authority.
That's right.
Because we've got many customers that shop here that work for TVA, which is really fun.
They get a discount on this book. No, that's not true. That's not true.
Don't put the stuff out
there. Yeah, no, that's not true.
So this is written by Catherine Blair, and the art is by Per Perez, and I have a hard time describing how this works, but this is a book that is set both within the comic Marvel Universe and the MCU Marvel Universe because now they share the TVA. It spans all realities, and that is very clear here. So our kind of POV character in this is Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider. She is from her universe, which has been kind of written out of existence.
Has it though?
She says that, and I don't know if it really has or not. But at least to her, she thinks it has. Okay. This is the Spider-Gwen that's in the Spider-Gwen series right now. Yep. All of that. We saw a hint of the TVA playing a part in that book. But in this, she is kind of working for them because she's kind of a character out of time and out of space. So this is a perfect place for her to be hiding out. But the version of TVA in this is the one from Loki and all of that. This actually takes place after Loki season 2. The giant statue of Loki's there. The, like you said, the key lime pie room or the pie room with it's like the vending machine. That's in here. You've got OB. You've got Mobius. You've got
B-15. Miss Minutes.
They refer to what happened in Miss Minutes in season 2 of Loki. So this is part of the MCU. I've never seen the two cinematic universe or TV universe and comics exist in this like amorphous state that this book exists in.
And there's no question either. Like they reference several times different things that happen in Loki season 2. Not to the point where you have to watch that to understand this. It's not like that at all. But if you have watched it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's when that happened, and they're talking about that.
Yeah, they talk about like a variant of Loki is now gone, and what is he doing? All of that. So
which then it's like, well, wait a minute. In the movies they said the MCU was 616, but now we know 616, and that just makes your head
because the TVA exists in everything.
Yeah,
it's everything.
That just makes your head hurt. Yeah,
but. This is really cool. So there is a whole cast of characters that are kind of from the different universes. You can see on the cover here some of them. So you've got Peggy Carter, who is Captain Britain in this universe. you've got a very interesting version of Gambit, which is brought up in here, why he's the way he is and everything.
Not the 616 Gambit,
It's
though.
not the
It's
616
not the
Gambit.
Gail Simone Uncanny X-Men Gambit. It's
And
not
it's
him.
not the cinematic universe Gambit.
Correct. Right. I was wondering if maybe it was, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's some
no.
other random Gambit.
So, basically, you know, everything in the TVA is going fine, but they do learn that there's a strange anomaly. OB kind of explains it to them that across all dimensions, or I think they say first like 12 dimensions or something like that, people are having these weird headaches. And they say that's the weird thing is it's not, you know, if it was just in one universe, you know, it's something, you know, related to supervillain or something. But this is going across, and the weirdest thing is when these people are having headaches, they're getting glimpses of the TVA. They say some people can even describe the hallways and all of that. So it must be some kind of intelligent attack on these people. And so now it's up to this team of Spider-Gwen and Peggy Carter and a couple of characters in this new Gambit, which you find out what the key difference in this Gambit is. Something happened in his past that made him, you know, go into this. But a couple others, and one of them I'm wondering if they are from the universe I think they're from.
I didn't know who that was, so you'll have to tell me later.
The guy or
The girl.
Okay, I could not find out who she was.
Okay.
And the guy might be from the original Ultimate Universe.
I just assumed it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even question. I was like, oh, that's so-and-so from so-and-so.
Yeah. So it seems like there might be a remnant of the original Ultimate Universe in this as well. But all of them are now tasked with doing this. But of course, you're dealing with space and time and all of that. So what can you trust? Who can you trust? We don't really know. But this was really cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like it could be really complicated. It's not. And it's really cool if you have watched, you know, Loki season 1 and 2 and you kind of know some of the stuff going on in the MCU and those characters and the comic universe. This is perfect for that Venn diagram meetup of the two.
I will say Sylvie is on the cover, but she's not in this issue.
No.
I'm sure she'll pop up later, but she's not in this.
But surprising last page that, you know, raises a lot of questions of like what is really going on here. But just really, really cool. Like you said also in our other show, this is the first appearance of a couple other Clock characters. So what were their names?
There's Doc Clock.
Yeah.
And there is Sir Seconds.
Yes.
He's kind of an ornery old, you know, curmudgeon or whatever.
So that's pretty cool. And I would imagine like we could see them in the MCU. Like essentially they exist in there already. We just haven't seen them in live action. But yeah, really, really cool. So definitely check out TVA #1. I believe this is just a mini series.
I think so, yeah.
But I'm really interested to see what this leads to and what else we see in there. So that is your A cover. We also have this Humberto Ramos cover with your other characters.
Yeah, so those are your three. That's Doc Clock, the blue guy, and then Sir Seconds is the other one on the. I don't know if we're backwards or not, but like on the other side, yeah.
We also have this. They're on this one too. This is the Casa Grande Stormbreakers variant.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice their Christmas ornaments on there.
Yeah, so that's really fun. And then we have this one, which is a 1 in 25 Carmen Carnero variant. We're selling for $19.99. And you see some of the characters that appear on the TV screens. So very cool in there.
Yeah, when they first announced that series, I wasn't super excited about it. But after reading it, I thought this is really cool. Not just because it connects the MCU with the comics, but just like the concept and the story, but having those characters from the show now be in the comics interacting with characters from the like everything. I was like, that's
Gwen
really
is
neat.
a cool character to bring into it. She brings some levity to it.
Yeah, it's cool seeing Spider-Gwen with Captain Carter. I love those two characters. I've never seen them together, so that's really neat.
Yep.
So yeah, it was really good. So another one's really good is the Green Lantern Green Arrow World's Finest Special. This is written by Jeremy Adams. The main story has art by Lucas Meyer. There's a backup story with art by Travis Mercer. Now this is just a one-shot. But in the tradition of Batman Superman World's Finest and Teen Titans World's Finest Teen Titans, this is set in the not too distant past. This is set back when, maybe Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen were doing some hard traveling on the road,
It says that in the book.
Yeah. So they're on a road trip. and they're just having a good time. And suddenly they're attacked by Deathstroke. But at this point in time, they had never met Deathstroke before. So, this is their very first meeting, which kind of conflicts with the Deathstroke Year One story from a couple years back, which I thought was really cool, but it doesn't matter. But so it's just Deathstroke. He's got a sword, he's got a gun or whatever. And Hal Jordan, he's Green Lantern. He thinks it'll be easy, but Deathstroke being Deathstroke, he has planned for how to fight these two guys. He knows their weaknesses, and Deathstroke manages to take Hal out of the fight. But luckily, Oliver is able to get them away from Deathstroke, and he patches up Hal before going hunting. And there's a really cool scene where he's like, "I'm going hunting," and then from there we get this cool scene of after a few pages, we get Green Lantern teaming up with Green Arrow, taking on Deathstroke and the League of Assassins, and just a really cool action sequence, which is really cool. The main story actually says to be continued in, and I don't remember the name of the story, but then it's on the very next page is where it continues into the backup story and sees Green Lantern teaming up with Barry Allen the Flash to continue fighting Deathstroke. And that was really cool too. And that's just got a lot of fun action, and the artwork in both of these is great. This is just really fun. Like I said, it's a one shot, it's a one and done. It's not connected to anything else whatsoever. You do not need to know anything about anything to read and enjoy this. It's just fun. Like, this feels like a comic from the 80s, and I say that a lot, but this really does. Like, it's just superheroes fighting supervillains. It's all out action. It's Hal is a little bit younger in his Green Lantern days, so he's a little bit more cocky, and Green Arrow, and it's fun because Oliver Queen is super liberal and Hal isn't quite that much, and so they are arguing the whole time on their road trip, which is really fun. But they're still like really, really good friends, so there's no like weird politics or anything. It's just a really fun book. It's exactly what I want. I just want to pick up a book and read a cool story with cool heroes, and that's exactly what this is. So yeah, you can definitely, if you just think it sounds fun and you're not reading anything else, that's okay. You can absolutely read this and get everything out of it. So there is our A cover right there. We have this really nice Weekend Marion variant. That's the one that I pre-ordered right there. We have this Howard Porter variant, which looks really cool. And we have this 1 in 25. I don't have the artist on this one, but a 1 in 25 variant that we're selling for $39.99. Super fun, classic comic books. I love it.
Next up, I've got The Question All Along the Watchtower #2. So, if you watched our show, that we really hyped up issue #1. We both loved it.
And this is the other one that's really near the top of my pick.
And it continues to deliver. So, in the first issue, of course, Renee Montoya, The Question, is kind of hired by the Justice League to be their head of security on the new Watchtower. And she doesn't quite feel like she's up to the job because she doesn't have any superpowers. And she's having to keep security in a place that's full of superheroes. But, some interesting stuff happens. But at the end of it, we see that there's been an attack on the Watchtower. One of the Challengers, the Unknown, which this event is mentioned in their book, which is really interesting. It's been attacked. At first, at the end of the first issue, we thought, oh, he's dead. He's not. He's just in critical condition. And it's the Watchtower. There's security everywhere, and the cameras do pick up what happened, and it doesn't look good for someone who's very close to Renee Montoya.
Seems a little bit unbelievable.
Very unbelievable. On top of that, something else weird. The zoo that we actually got introduced to in the first issue, that the Watchtower has a zoo for kind of endangered species to protect them and everything. One of the dangerous animals in it has broken out. And how does that play into this? It's a very weird setup, and where the attack happened was in Renee Montoya's room, which was another weird thing. So when Renee goes to check in on the Challenger that was attacked, crazy stuff happens, and another big DC villain attacks.
Classic villain from 30 years ago.
And kind of related in what character they fight to what happened in the first one.
Right.
Which, don't look too hard at the cover because you might be able to figure it out.
Oh, right.
But it is very weird. They've stolen something. It's just, these weird attacks on the Watchtower. Where are they all coming from?
It's a lot of seemingly. It just seems like it's a lot of randomness.
Yeah.
But we know it's going to be connected, and that's the part of the fun. Is Renee Montoya? The question is going to have to figure out what the heck's going on. We don't know.
Yeah, there's a really great part too where you see the Watchtower's armory,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out a lot of heroes have been hired to, or asked or whatever to oversee a certain element of the Watchtower. We see the armory where they've confiscated weapons and stuff from supervillains, and who is in charge of that is really interesting and really funny.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just a really interesting issue. With at the end, you do get maybe a little hint of a a connective tissue between a lot of these events that we'll have to keep reading to find out. But once again, another great issue, one of my favorite issues of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
It's so good. And there's a part too where Renee Montoya is trying to gather information. And I guess there's like some kind of bar or something. I mean, this is like a crime noir murder mystery, but it just happens to be set on a space station that's full of superheroes. Because she walks into this bar and sits down, and she's like, what are you drinking? It's like, oh, hey, where were you at the hours of so and so and so and so? It's just like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah, I love and that it all takes place on the Watchtower.
Yep.
We see so many cool rooms and different departments that they have there and everything. So, yeah, once again, fantastic issue. Hopefully, everyone read the first one and is going to pick up the second one because it is a gluttony of riches right now.
I think I may have liked this one even better than the first one,
too.
and I love the first one. So yeah,
just so much fun. So there is your A cover. We also have this. I believe this is the Fornes. Yeah, we got this Fornes variant. We've got this Perio variant. Very cool. And we have. Let me make sure I got the art right. This is the Fico Ocio variant as well.
Yeah, DC is just giving us so much good stuff to read lately. I mean, it's all so much fun. Oh, it's awesome. All right. Well, speaking of Image, well, not speaking of Image, but moving over to Image, we have G.I. Joe #2. And this issue is every bit as good as the first, picks up right where the last issue left off, where tragedy seemingly struck the Joes while they are trying to prevent Cobra from stealing the Cybertronian shard that the Joes were protecting last issue and Cobra was coming after. And the Joes really do put up the best fight that they can, but they are clearly outgunned, outmatched. They're still a little bit inexperienced working with each other, that kind of thing. And they get their butts handed to them. And so they go back to the pit. And this is where we see Colonel Hawk introducing Duke to the character that we saw a little bit of last issue called Risk. And I think maybe he's a new. I think he's new. I'm pretty sure. He's not on there. And so Duke is very upset. Hey Hawk, why you went and got this guy and you didn't even talk to me? What's up with that? But Risk is clearly very experienced. He's a really good fighter, and the Joes desperately need that because they are licking their wounds right now. Meanwhile, in Springfield, Cobra Commander and Destro are planning their next stage of their grand plan for whatever they're trying to do. But there may be something that disrupts their plans that they don't know about yet, and we'll have to see what that looks like maybe when the next issue comes out. What I'm really most interested in this book, though, is like I have no idea how the Joes are going to beat Cobra right now. I mean, Cobra is so much more technologically advanced. They have so many more organized.
G.I. Joe seems really just like
G.I. Joe seems like 5 people in a room, and Cobra is like
don't really know each other.
Yeah,
that well.
And Cobra it has all these troops and soldiers and tech and weapons and vehicles, and they're organized and they're all standing in lines and formations in the entire town of Springfield. I have no idea how the Joes are going to win. And I like that though. I like
in this issue. Pretty much all the Joes, it begins with them in a hospital,
right,
all treating severe wounds.
Yeah, but I like knowing, or I like not knowing how the good guys are going to win. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, maybe Scarlet and the Arashikage will come in at some point. I have no idea. But it's not looking great for the Joes right now. But still very, very cool, and I can't wait to see the next part. There's our A cover right there. We have our Dave Finch variant, which looks really cool. We have our 1 in 10 David Nakayama variant with CoverGirl. She gets messed up pretty bad in that. This is a 1 in 25 Travis Moore variant that we're selling for $9.99. Did I mention the price tag on the other one? $5.99?
Yep.
And then this is the 1 in 50 Otto Schmidt variant that were selling for $24.99.
And let's say in this series, no one's safe.
No one is
like
safe.
like characters can and will die
Yeah.
in this. So don't get too attached.
Yeah. I don't know if Duke will ever die.
I don't know if Duke will, but who knows? That feels like
Yeah.
a twist that
Yeah.
could happen. Okay, next up for me, I've got Deadly. My notes say Deadly Takes of the Gunslinger. I've got some pretty deadly
Yeah.
takes on this book. No, Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger. This is
Those are hotter than hot takes. Those
Yeah.
are deadly takes.
So this is our new book about Gunslinger Spawn, set back in the past during the Old West. This is written by Jimmy Palmiotti, and the art is by Patrick Reynolds. And I always like to bring this up, but Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray wrote one of my favorite series, which is Jonah Hex at DC, which is a fantastic, like, not really connected to the DC universe, just great Western tales.
Mhm.
It's a genre we don't get a whole lot of, but it's great to see him back writing a pretty much just supernatural Western here. So, like I said, this does take place in the past. It begins before this character that becomes a Gunslinger Spawn becomes that entity. But we are first introduced to what seems like a normal kind of priest of the time, who seems very courteous, but actually may be a demon in disguise, as he does horrible things and recruits some people into your classic Old West outlaw gang. On the other side, they do face off against someone who refers to themselves as nobody, just a heroic person, kind of a white hat in this world. But it's not going to be too good for them until they are bestowed the spawn powers, and we will go from there. So the best way to describe this, if you played Red Dead Redemption or something like that, it is that gritty old west.
Okay.
You know, it's not pretty. It's, you know, it's not your glamorous old west. It's a very lawless, dangerous place. It is very violent. It's a very mature just in themes and storytelling, but perfect for this title. So if you like all that, if you're just jonesing for an Old West comic, which I'm always happy to get another one of, this is awesome. It's got a great scene when he does become the Gunslinger Spawn, of like how his suit comes on to him and all of that, which is really, really cool. But yeah, this is kind of what I always wanted the Gunslinger Spawn series to be. I want it set in the Old West because I think it's a fresh take on the character. And so, highly recommended if you are a fan of the Spawn universe or Western comics.
What would you say? Do you need to know anything about Gunslinger or Spawn to read this?
I don't think so,
No?
because it does definitely feel just like a Old West tale that has some weird paranormal elements
Okay.
to it, but does not rely on you knowing, you know, what this entity is or
Yeah.
anything like that.
I guess if you know the basics of Spawn, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, you're set. So that is your A cover for that. We also have our Beren's variant. And we also have a Todd McFarlane variant.
Nice. All right. Well, next up, I've got Rocketfellers #2. Another fantastic issue. We both love the first one, and this one is so much fun. This issue takes place on Christmas Eve. And like most of this issue, probably 99% of it is just fun family stuff, right? The Rockefellers, they have been so preoccupied with keeping up appearances as a regular family in the 21st century. Why did I not know what century we're in? A regular family living in the 21st century. They're trying to keep a low profile. They've been so fixated on doing that kind of stuff that they didn't even realize that it's Christmas. And like I said, Christmas Eve in this book. So they need to go get a Christmas tree, and they find one at a Christmas tree farm, you know, where you go out and you buy one. The guy goes to cut down the tree, and Ray, the daughter, she freaks out because in the 25th century, where they come from, it is illegal to cut down trees. So she flips out. And Roland, the father, the head of the family, you know, he's a Reed Richards type.
Yeah.
He's very smart. He says, "Hey, I know how we can get one." And he goes back home, and he's able to grow their own tree very rapidly. But it's great. Everybody's having a great time, and it looks great. But maybe his plan works a little bit too well, and it results in some madcap family science adventures. And it's really fun. It has a nice ending to it. It's not real bad or anything. Now, there's a couple pages where we are reminded that there is a looming threat. This I don't know, we don't know the name yet, but like there's this like
someone who's hunting them.
yeah, like this cybernetic looking being who's hunting them across time. There is a cool 2-page spread that I don't know if I want to tell you about it, but
it is online. They
yeah,
released it a while back,
it,
but
it,
yeah, it's
it maybe gives you a peek into some of the other realities in the Ghost Machine universe, like the unnamed universe and what's one of the other ones?
uh,
Rook.
Hornsby and Halo.
Yeah. Not that they're part of the. It's nothing major, but they're trying to look through the time stream, but also across like the multiverse, basically, to try to find where the heck the Rocketfellers went. It's just a double-page spread. There's not too much more than that. You don't need to read too much into it. It's just cool to see. But yeah, so there is still this looming threat that is going to play a factor at some point. But for right now, in December, it's just a really fun Christmas themed book, and I really enjoyed it.
I think this is going to be interesting because it does feel very like fun and not goofy, but lighthearted and everything. And they're the dangers that come up are not really dangers; they're mishaps and that kind of thing. But with this looming threat, I feel like not that we're going to get to like mature levels, but I think the threat is going to get to a scary level where we are worried for our characters.
I feel like the other shoe is going to drop eventually for sure.
So they make you feel comfortable and fun, and then
wouldn't that be terrible? Like, oh, we spend months and months with these characters, and we get to know them so well, and then they all die.
Yeah, I mean,
series is over.
St. John's, you don't know.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it's just fun. It's super fun. So that's our A cover right there, and we have this really nice Gary Frank variant. I think that's the one that I pre-ordered because it looks so good. And there's our weird character. This is the this is the Francis Vanderpool, yeah. And there's the character that's hunting them across time and dimensions. And will she find them? Probably at some point.
Yeah, I mean it's written by Tomasi, which he's such a great writer, but he's done some stuff. The risks and stuff in Super Sons and his Green Lantern Corps and stuff. Like he can write stuff that's still pretty much all ages fun, but be scary. So I can't wait to see where this book
Don't
goes.
get too comfortable, I guess.
Yeah. So next up, I've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 5. This is awesome. So as you can see on the cover, Casey Jones. I will say Casey Jones is in a couple of pages of this, but not the whole thing. This issue is drawn by Derek Robertson, who you may know from books like The Boys, which is pretty crazy when you read a Ninja Turtles book, but some of the characters look like they could have been in The Boys, and you don't know what you're going to see when you turn the page.
Especially that big one-page splash with Bebop and Rocksteady, who look like they could have been in The Boys.
Yeah. So this issue actually focuses on the new big villain that we've seen a couple of issues ago. In this, his name is Hieronymus Hale, and
isn't he the mayor or a councilman or something like that?
So the interesting thing about him is he does feel like a character that you could have pulled from the animated series, but now in a very dark version of the Ninja Turtles world. So he is, kind of your conniving businessman, mayor, that kind of stuff. But we learn the truth behind why does he hate the mutants, what happened in his past, and maybe who's really pulling the strings in the whole thing.
Nice. Okay.
Which is really cool. But I will say this issue is brutal. Like there is a pretty could have been from The Boys or Walking Dead moment that happens that's pretty horrifying.
Okay.
It's he's evil, he's scary, and definitely raises the stakes for this Ninja Turtles series.
Nice.
The Turtles are only in this briefly, but I think it's a good idea to set up the threat so we know what they're getting into going forward.
Because a couple times we've seen him, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is and why he's the way he is and that kind of thing. So it'll be good to have this catch up. Yeah.
Yes, and Casey Jones is in this, doing what he does. He's being, kind of a rebellious fighter against this this tyranny that's in the city. But is he even safe from this villain? Probably not, and you'll probably be pretty surprised when you read this issue. So, very cool issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And yeah, every issue I expect to be good, and it surpasses my expectations.
Nice.
So that is our A cover. We also have this Gonzo variant, which is very Christmassy. We have this Derek Robertson variant, so that's your interior artist on there. And we have a Kevin Eastman variant. And lastly, we have this 1 in 25 Earl's variant we're selling for $26.99.
I like that one a lot.
Very cool.
And next issue is the start of basically the series where all the turtles are back together. Juan Ferreira, it comes on as your regular ongoing artist. So like the series really gets going next issue.
Yeah.
All right, well, next up I've got Hellverine #1. This is the start of I want to say this is maybe ongoing, whereas the previous Hellverine was a miniseries. Still written by Benjamin Percy, the artist by Raphael Ienco. And Akihiro, or Daken, Wolverine's son, he's still possessed by the demon of Bagra Ghul. And just like he was in the previous miniseries, and he's traveling the country seeking out and taking out evildoers. And one of the more disturbing ones that he comes across, he like just comes across all these little, like he's kind of drawn to these like bad places. One of the more disturbing ones is in North Carolina, where he comes across a lake and he goes into the lake and finds a whole bunch of dead people, like chained, being held under the lake, all these dead bodies. And there's a house right on the lake, and the guy in there is the one who did it. So he goes in there and gets some pretty brutal revenge. You were talking about being brutal. This is pretty brutal too. So he's been doing this for a while now, trying to figure out, what am I doing and how is this spirit affecting me, that kind of thing. So he goes to New York and seeks help from Doctor Strange, who is not the Sorcerer Supreme anymore, but is still able to do some magic stuff and try to help him out a little bit. And after examining him and the demon within him, Doctor Strange gives him some not so great news. And I'm assuming that's going to be sort of the main through line of this series. And yeah, so we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, so if you liked Hellverine and all that stuff, here's a brand new series of him. So there's our A cover right there. And we have our Alessandro Capuccio variant. He's going to be drawing Ultimate Wolverine very soon. I guess he's already done it, but we're going to see it very soon. This is a Mark Bagley foil variant, and that looks really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have a 1 in 25 Lionel Francis Yu variant that we're selling for $19.99. And yeah, you can see Doctor Strange doing some mystic stuff on Daken right there.
Well, next up for me, I've got our next issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. This is number 12, and since this does kind of take place in real time, every issue is said what month it is. This is December, and it is Christmas time. And the Parker home is throwing a family get-together. The Christmas tree's up, everything looks holly and jolly. And we've got some people in attendance, like Ben, Parker, and J. Jonah Jameson show up, and they're greeted by an interesting cast of characters that have shown up to this party. They say it's a little bit different this year because, along with them, we also have MJ's sister, Gail, who we have not seen in the series so far.
Right, and I don't think she even exists.
Does she not exist?
I don't think so. Not that I remember.
We've got her, who maybe her and Mary Jane don't have a great relationship from various reasons in the past. So that makes it a little awkward. Also, Aunt Anna's there, which is great to see another classic Spider-Man character. And Mary Jane's...
I was wrong. She does exist in the 616 universe.
Yeah, she hasn't been in much.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Now I feel like a dummy.
Yeah, dummy.
Oh, my gosh.
You know about Mary Jane's estranged sister.
Right, who first appeared in 1983 and probably only appeared in a couple...
But we also have Mary Jane's mother who's there, who she also does not have a great relationship. So I will say this issue does not contain any Spider-Man.
Right.
It is mostly about the family dynamics of Mary Jane and, the Parker family and all of that. We learned some backstory on stuff. It's a very, Christmassy issue of, can we get past our differences and celebrate the holidays, all of that. So, it's interesting, it's fun, it's emotional in some parts, all of that. But, you're like, I'm reading Ultimate Spider-Man, what's going on? Well, there is a little through line going through it that Gwen Stacy keeps trying to call Mary Jane, and she keeps being like, her daughter brings her the phone, it's like, Gwen's on the phone, she's like, I can't talk to her right now, just, let it go. But she keeps calling, and then at the end, we find out what she was calling for, and that's when things take a really crazy turn. About 3 pages in this changed the entire issue.
Yeah. please try to avoid spoilers
Yes.
because you definitely need to experience this on that page turn and not in some random tweet. So try to avoid spoilers on this as much as you can because those last 2 or 3 pages, like
Yeah.
my eyes nearly popped out of my head.
I was enjoying the issue, but
Yeah.
what we've come to expect with a lot of this Ultimate Spider-Man is you don't have a whole lot of Spider-Man, but you have a lot of world building, you have a lot of characterization, that kind of thing. But by the end of this, you kind of know it kind of makes you look back at the issue and be like, oh, well, I could probably read that a little bit
Yeah.
different or something like that. And we know future storylines coming up that it may allude to. So very cool issue, very surprising issue, and just shows you why Hickman is such an expert at this kind of thing. So yeah, if you read it, stick to it to the end because yeah, it's crazy. So there's your A cover, very Christmassy. We also have this Lee variant with MJ, which I love how much screen time she gets in this series.
Yeah, this is like she's like the main character in this
Yes,
book. Yeah.
and it's
Mhm.
fantastic. We also have this awesome variant costume for Spider-Man. This is the Paco Medina
Yeah,
variant,
that's
where
the one I
it's
pre-ordered.
a
I just
little
love that.
Christmassy.
Yeah.
And lastly, I love this cover. This is the Pepe Larraz 1 in 25. We're selling for $14.99. Where careful, Spider-Man, you don't step on some toys.
Mhm. Oh, next for me, I've got Mother Monsters. You can see the title there for yourself. That's why I'm not
Yeah,
saying it
it
there.
didn't really censor the right letter because if you just said it, it
Yeah,
would still
right.
still.
But this is the fourth book in the Horizon Experiment line of books. This one is written by Jay Holtham, and the art is by Michael Lee Harris. And so on the inside cover of each one of these books, there's been a little, there's been a whole page about what the Horizon Experiment is, and then at the bottom there's been like a paragraph describing each book specifically. And this book, and these are not my words, these are how the book describes itself. This says it's described as Evil Dead for Black Nerds. And in the afterword of the book, Jay Holtham said this is his love letter to Sam Raimi and Edgar Wright, but set to a Wu Tang soundtrack, which that's awesome, right? Wu Tang's for the kids.
Yeah.
So Jay, it's about this kid named, well, I say kid, he's in college. It's about this kid named JJ. He is a student at Sheffield College in upstate New York, and his friends OG, Kaya, and Phoenix come to visit him, but they are not really thrilled with him being there because the college that he's at is quite a bit culturally different than where JJ and all of them are from. So his friends are like, "Why are you here? This isn't really your kind of place." But they all get invited to a Delta 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 fraternity party, and JJ is really excited about it, but his friends are kind of weary on it. And they get to the party, and everything seems fine for a while, but then all I can say without spoiling anything is that it turns out to not be exactly what they thought. So take that with it what you will. The book is referencing monsters. And what I will say is this is the first Horizon Experiment book that says at the end to be continued instead
Interesting.
of having, because all of the ones so far have ended the story but been open enough to where we could have more.
Mm-hmm.
But this one flat out says to be continued, and it ends like right in the middle of some craziness. So who knows if we'll get more, if the story will continue. Just like all the other Horizon experiment line of books, if the reception's good, sales are good, like there is a potential for more. So hopefully there will be more. If you read this and you like want to know what happens, hopefully you'll get another issue. But yeah, so just the next one, I think there's one more coming. I don't remember
We
the
just
name of it.
talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reverse Indiana Jones, so that
Mm-hmm.
one's gonna be pretty cool too. So yeah, just the next book in the Horizon Experience line of books, Mother Fluffin' Monsters, and this is the only cover that we have.
Next up for me, just real quick, we've got Alligator Loki Holiday Special #1. So this is written by Alyssa Wong and the art is by Bob Quinn. This is taking some of the Marvel Unlimited digital first stories, putting them in a book. I think there's an original story in here as well. But this is not just Christmas for Alligator Loki. It actually goes over different seasons and
Oh,
holidays in
okay.
it as well. At least there's like a Valentine's Day, and there's a very summary one. There's no dialogue in it, and it all kind of centers around Alligator Loki and his friendships and team ups with different characters. So there is a Christmas story with Thor and Loki, like regular Thor and Loki and Alligator Loki. We've got a cookout story with Hawkeye, which is really fun. We've got one about a big dragon, like a dragon Loki, which is cool. We've got Thor takes alligator Loki to a dog park, which you have all the other uh, pet
Pet Avengers.
pet Avengers,
Yeah.
Lockjaw's there
Yeah.
and some of the other
Lucky
ones.
Pizza Dog.
I think so. I
Nice.
mean, it has everybody in it, and just many more. There's a lot. They're each like 2 pages long, maybe. And like I said, they do cover multiple holidays and seasons and stuff, so it's really fun. It's an oversized issue, I believe, by a little bit. It's $6.99, so it's probably 30 something pages. But yeah, if you are a fan and just want something really fun to read, no dialogue or anything, but it does tease the next pet related book at the end of it, which I hadn't heard of yet, so that's fun. But yep, just the one cover for that.
Well, I've got Psylocke number 2, and I really, really enjoyed the first one, and I really enjoyed this one as well. So last issue, Psylocke stumbled on a mutant child trafficking ring, and she saved the kids there that she found. But she knows that there's more children out there, and she's determined to save them all. So she learns that it was Shinobi Shaw who tipped her off about the party that she went to last issue, which is how she found the kids in the first place. He was the one that tipped her off. So she goes to him to get help finding more kids, and he takes her to this other secret club where they find some more kidnapped mutant children who are being forced to fight each other in like a cage match style for the entertainment of a bunch of like rich, muckety mucks or whatever. But this is just another fun issue. I really like seeing Psylocke in this Black Widow style role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this seems like a book that Black Widow would be in. She's very stealthy and espionage, and she's sneaking into places and jumping off buildings and all that kind of stuff. The artwork and the action are really, really good. So I really like the first one. I really like this one. It's turning out that my favorite From the Ashes books are the single character
Yeah.
ones, like Phoenix and this one, Wolverine. Like they're all really cool. So just really nice issue of Psylocke number 2. That's our A cover, and we have this 1 in 25 Alessandro variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Lastly, for me, I've got Plastic Man No More number 4. This is our final issue of this Plastic Man miniseries, this Black Label title, which has been heart wrenching and grotesque and everything in between.
You
Uh,
never know what to expect.
no.
Anything could happen in this.
And yeah, the ending is no different. So, will Plastic Man screw it all up, or will he be the father and the hero that he wants to be? You'll have to read to find out. I don't want to give too much away, but it is definitely the last issue of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's another brutal one as
Yeah.
Plastic Man continues to decompose to horrific levels.
Right.
Uh,
Oh man, yeah. Wow.
so that being said, I'll just show you the variant where you get a little idea of just how horrible it goes. This is our Ekman Lawn variant, which woof. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a great ending to this really great
It's been
mini
great.
series.
Yeah, it's been so
One of my
good.
favorite Black Label series
Uh huh.
of all time.
Yep. Yep. All right, I've got Batman and Robin Year One number 3. Continuing to enjoy this one. The main crux of this issue is that the General, who is the new crime boss that came into Gotham wanting to take over everything. Well, he enacts his plan to turn all of Gotham's crime families against each other, sabotaging one crime boss's operations, but framing another crime family, and they're all pitted against each other. So that's kind of the backdrop of the issue. But we also get some nice Bruce and Dick moments. Alfred helps Bruce realize that even though he and Dick share similar tragedies, they definitely do not share similar childhoods. Dick is much more brash and irresponsible, and Bruce even says, like, I was much more responsible when I was his age. I thought he would be the same way, and definitely he's not. There's this really cool action sequence near the end with on a tanker ship where Robin's impulsiveness get both him and Batman into some big trouble because the first couple issues Robin's been very impulsive and Batman's kind of had to pull his butt out of the fire a couple times, but it's still mostly been okay. But now it's like Robin actually kind of screws up pretty bad in this one, and we'll have to see how they get out of it. But Chris Samney on art, it looks great. It's a fun story. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this really cool Carlos Oanda cover right there. And I have just a couple more real quick I definitely want to tell you just real quick about Wonder Woman number 16. This is so much fun because the Sovereign. Oh, my bad. Yeah, whoops.
Let the class see.
Yeah, let the class, right. Yeah, so the Sovereign is continuing to narrate his story to Trinity, which is what he's been doing this whole series so far. And so what he says is that after the death of Steve Trevor, he was hoping that Wonder Woman would get really, really mad and become enraged and like smash down his door and do all this stuff. He says, but instead we got the Chimp. And yes, it's Detective Chimp.
Yeah.
This issue is mostly Detective Chimp.
That's all I want left.
Right. You're gonna love this when you read it. And most of the issue is Detective Chimp showing up around the Sovereign at the most inopportune times, asking about Steve Trevor's death, and just kind of trolling the Sovereign a little bit. You know, and the Sovereign is like, he's the secret king of the United States, right? And here's Detective Chimp. He's like, oh, I just found this banana. It looks really good. I just try to keep a banana. I mean, the Sovereign's like getting so mad. And it's really funny, like Detective Chimp just showing up time after time in the, out of nowhere, just trolling the Sovereign, asking about Steve Trevor. But this issue does go back and forth between that and some really nice, quiet moments with Diana and baby Lizzie. And it's so cool because when the Sovereign says, we wanted her to get really mad and smash down the doors, and instead it shows Diana almost at peace with her new baby daughter, just calm. I mean, I'm sure she's still sad, but still very calm and just not feeding into what the Sovereign wanted at all. And after the events of last issue and this one, the Sovereign's downfall is definitely coming close. It's definitely near. We do know the Sovereign storyline is wrapping up with issue number 19, and this is issue number 16. So another fantastic issue of Wonder Woman. And yeah, Detective Chimp fans, you are going to love it. So there's our A cover right there. And we have the David Nakayama variant. And we have the Chrissy Zulo, what are they called again? The Winter Wonderland variant with her delivering presents in her invisible plane. Oh, and there is the 1 in 25 G Young variant that we're selling for $49.99. That looks so cool. And I just wanted to tell you real quick about Deadpool number 9. Um, we try to avoid spoilers here, but I think this is pertinent information that you might want to know. Deadpool, Wade Wilson, comes back at the end of this issue, and that's not super spoiler because we know that he's in from the solicitations. We know he's in the next issue, and in the next couple issues, there's going to be like a 4-part crossover with Deadpool and Miles Morales. So Deadpool has to come back for that. So if you saw that and you're like, oh, Deadpool is coming back, it happens here, and it's another really fun issue. So this is our A cover right here, and we have this Fong variant. And that is it. That's all I got.
It was a big really good week of books. I loved like pretty much everything I read. I thought it was fantastic. So hopefully you will find that to be true for yourself.
Yeah, we talked about like a week ago. We talked about some weeks are lots and lots of books, but they're like, oh, they're okay. And then some weeks are like, there's not that many, but the caliber of those books is really high. This week was a combination of lots of high caliber books. Yep. So this is a fantastic week of comics.
Absolutely. So head on over to infinityflux.net right now. You can place your orders right now. Hopefully you've been following along and doing that as we talk. And don't forget, you can use that code ILOVEFLUX at checkout if it's your first time using it. You can use it one time and you get 10% off of that order. So yeah, awesome one there as well.
Yeah, some of these you're definitely going to want to try to order now because they're going to go quick.
Yeah, once the word spreads, watch out. So thank you so much for joining us. Come back here on Wednesday. We'll be going over the books that you can pre-order. We'll get into some weird weeks coming up. We might not have some Marvel for a few weeks, all of that because of holiday schedules, but that's why you'll want to tune in so you find out all the dates. And
let us know in the comments which one of these are you looking forward to, because like I said, lots of high quality books this week. Let us know which ones excite you the most.
Exactly. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to talk to you about all of that. So until next time, see ya.